Welcome to the American Iron Podcast, episode 9. Maybe 9.
We have fun out here, y'all.
We have fun out here. Today we're going to be talking about general fitness and just the details about trying to bring people into the gym and trying to keep them there. And just the way you would train them differently than you would, say, other athletes. So,
When you say other athletes, you mean like the guys that have like goals in like some sort of sport or something, or what do you mean?
yeah, I mean, I would usually separate like the bodybuilders, the powerlifters, the strongman athletes. Like I would
And
put
gym
them
pop.
so much separate versus like the gym population, just because the training is so dramatically different.
For sure.
But the most important thing is like they already have goals set. Like when you have somebody that has a goal in a sport and they already have something to strive for, it's a little bit easier to motivate them where they can just follow a program and make progress from it. Whereas when you're bringing somebody new that's either never been to the gym or they've never really had like an active gym lifestyle, you're introducing to them even proper muscle movement. You're introducing to them the
Coordination.
all
that,
the
yeah.
mind-muscle connection, even just using their body properly.
That's
I mean-
the biggest thing. Honestly, is just the motor skill function of it all.
It's absolutely crazy. Like I'll have somebody new, like Sasha, for instance, when I started working with her. You have to break down, and she's even been active for a while. Like she had a personal trainer before me and didn't necessarily know how to squat properly, deadlift properly. Like there's some like motor function skills that just weren't there. And so being able to bring them in, make those adjustments, and then still have them enjoy it is like a whole other process.
Oh yeah, for sure. So with somebody that's come from a different trainer or background, where there's some like not necessarily bad habits, but just some habits or tensions that like you had to break or just kind of
Always.
reform. Always.
You're always breaking some sort of bad habit.
Yeah.
That's why the first month is usually, I tell everybody, it's kind of like you're not going to see very much besides form changes.
Yeah.
Because then after that, that's when the progress can really start. Because you got to like tear it down to build it back up again.
Yeah.
If they're just lifting with bad form, it's not going to go anywhere.
Most of the time, deadlifting using their back, squatting their knees way too far forward, or their ankle mobility, or whatever it is. It's just,
Benching
It's-
wildly.
oh man.
The bench is the hard one.
It's always the hardest.
Do you remember Oliver's bench when he first started
No.
coming here from high school?
Uh-uh.
He would like come down, touch his chest, and when he would press, his hips, no joke, were off the bench like this far.
Nice.
He's just way up there. I'm like,
It's
yeah, that's
wild.
Where does that habit even come from?
that's high school
It's high school
coaching
intensity. It's
for football.
But
Like-
that doesn't do anything.
No, it doesn't. But when they don't care about that stuff in the combine. So if you're doing 225 for max reps and your butt's flying off the bench, it doesn't matter. They just count reps.
So
that's
what you're saying is I can go to the combine and just dominate.
yes, 100%.
put your slingshot on.
Is there no rules?
There's definitely a rule for
can't-
that. Yeah.
yeah, there's
Definitely a rule for that. And I think there's
slingshot
like obsessive like butt lifting rules too and stuff, but like there's not like a lot of their hips come up off the bench anyway. But if it's like clearly in the air, like you're trying to arch and you just can't keep your butt down, like that's a rule. But like a little floating, I don't think I've seen lots of benches that do that.
That one punter that got 26 reps with 225
Yeah.
last year, like his ass was coming off the bench. It wasn't like staying up. Like every rep it would start, but then it would like boop.
Yeah, that bench would also come from like there's been a big increase in like explosive training, power work, and so like a lot of high schools like just focus on intent, but sacrificing technique for intent just to move weight faster.
I think they sacrifice a lot of strength too.
They sacrifice. Well, yeah, it's power leaks. So that's like everything think you're getting from just getting faster. You're not gaining any strength from it because like you're just leaking all your energy and ruining your technique and everything.
You're not working your slow twitch muscles.
Diminishing returns at some point.
It's
Well, like
all-
I was telling you earlier when I did football in high school, we just ran 2 hours a day. That's all we did.
That's brutal.
Sounds like a great soccer game.
I'm a lineman, and then sometimes a linebacker, and all I'm doing is running.
Yeah.
That's something a lot of coaches don't like energy system development, especially like collegiate level, especially like you think it'd be such a big deal after doing like internships and working on collegiate level. Like a lot of coaches don't take that stuff into consideration at all. They just think about, well, we need to be in shape, so let's just go for, especially like contact athletes that don't go 15 minutes at a time, because like most colleges don't have rugby teams or strength conditioning for rugby teams. It's like football. It's like, well, we need to like move for like 20 minutes straight to get used to playing football. And it's like, well, that's not.
It's not football.
No.
They don't know how to recover between plays now. You know, like
Yeah.
you need to teach them not just the working factor, but the recovery factor, and their bodies just don't learn that. You know.
Yeah. Well, that's what separates like D1, D2 colleges and NFL compared to, I don't know, what you would see from like a JUCO or
Oh,
something
yeah.
like that. It's just the knowledge behind that, and then that's why those athletes. You could have one of the best players in the nation
Mhm.
be like playing for this team, but if they don't have the structure of like actual good coaching, they're not going to go anywhere.
The issue with college is like like energy based training and stuff like that is like I think we all kind of structured around the weight room first, and then went down there from like sprint training, plyometric training, aerobic capacity training. And so I think conditioning technically, like for the sport, really laid low on a lot of people's lists, and they didn't think about that kind of stuff. So they always wonder like, why is my athlete getting hurt? Well, they're taking so many steps in training and in their days, along with high intensity strength training, along with high intensity sprint and plyometric training. You know, if you're pushing heavy weight and doing some good plyometrics and some sprints here and there, it's probably best to do like assault bike conditioning off your feet, saving those muscles, but still getting the heart work and everything. But something a lot of people I think overlook though.
Nothing too long either. I feel like HIIT style training would be
No,
almost more
it's-
beneficial.
the thing is, like most of those collegiate training sessions were like probably an hour at most. So
Yeah.
it's like you're getting a lot. The warm up consisted of like plyometrics and dynamic work already, and then you get into strength training, and then there's stuff after that. Like so, like honestly, just fitting all that into an hour is already kind of insane. You
Yeah.
know, at
Oh,
first
yeah.
that's like a lot of work capacity in general.
Well, and even an hour with training here, like I feel like I run out of time constantly.
That's
true.
how I feel.
Yeah.
I'm always running out of time.
Especially if I have powerlifting clients.
You
like-
barely get the main movement, maybe part of the secondary done.
Yeah. And it's very important because I got to make sure you're moving correctly the entire main movement.
Yeah.
I got to make sure that there's adjustments.
And you're picking the weights, and you're like, that didn't look good. Do
Yeah,
it again.
yeah, let's do this one again.
Do it again. Give yourself 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You're like, why are you trying to go again? Stop.
Oh,
And then you're looking at the clock, and you're like, maybe he should go again.
maybe.
Maybe.
And then you're like, God, I really want to watch his accessories because they're probably not great. But, well, I got another client.
Yeah.
It's not good.
No.
I-
Always
but-
wondered that, like with y'all's training, like you say, you only get to really like the main big lifts. Like, do you ever wonder what their accessories look like? You know, like, are they pushing hard? Are they doing it the right way? You know?
I can't tell you how many times, and I hope this gets clipped so I can use this against my parents. I can't tell you how many times I have checked in on them doing accessories and been like, what the fuck are we doing?
Just like what, half-assing shit? or-
Yeah, just like not necessarily half-assing it, but it just looks awful.
Okay.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
This is not the movement at all. Even in Train Heroic, it shows you a video. Just watch the video,
Just watch the video.
you know? Or just ask me.
Right.
So I told it's funny. I told my parents, I was like, after this next meet, I'm going to have you guys either come in earlier or our session is going to be later, and I'm going to work primarily on accessories with you guys. Because it's such an important role with trying to build those smaller weaknesses.
Mhm.
And they have a hard time understanding it.
That's what I'm always wondering, because we also were talking about this earlier, just going into it with intensity.
Yeah.
And I don't know if people know how to do accessories.
Not intensely.
Because
Not-
like you can give a 4x10, but do they understand what a 4x10 really is?
yeah.
Well,
Do
was that the like effort and intensity
Yeah.
talk we had? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's two different things.
Oh.
You give an athlete an RP6, and they'll only treat it with RP6 effort instead of 100% effort. It's like your intensity is RP6. Your effort should always be whatever you
100%.
can give that day. Yeah. Which is try to be 100%.
Yeah.
But like,
And that's like, yeah, sure, take exhaustion into consideration, like especially when you get to accessories, but that doesn't mean that you're just walking through them.
right.
If you give somebody a 4x10 on like leg press, okay, I'm expecting you to actually push the weight. 10
Yeah.
reps is not a lot of reps on leg press.
I'm also expecting you to do build up to the 4x10.
Yeah, not like
Not just jump into a
I
4x10,
did a
yeah.
plate, so that sounds one set. Like no,
I guess we'll toss on another plate.
yeah, yeah, dude.
Coach, this isn't working.
And then you wonder why.
You're not doing it right.
And then I usually like specify like a supersetting.
Yeah,
I usually try to always specify supersetting everything.
Yeah.
Almost everything.
like together, all of the
Yeah.
accessories together.
Usually 2 at a time. Because I don't know. I have like this thought process where when it comes to accessories, your rest time is whatever other accessory you're doing, and then you can just keep knocking shit out.
Or whoever you're talking to.
Yeah, that's what usually happens.
Yeah.
40 minutes later.
So like the circuit training we do,
I was just gonna say.
that kind of stuff. Like there's times where like I think it was when I do my legs. So it's like a squat pattern, a lunge pattern, and then a leg extension machine. That leg extension machine is like my rest. I'm sitting down. I'm just busting them out like 15 reps. I'm like, this is my rest
That's
time.
your rest. Yeah.
And I'm still moving. I'm still getting something out of it. But like quads are burning a little bit. But then it's like, well, now I get back to squats. You know, like you find that one exercise that's kind of a rest, but you're still able to just because you can breathe a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And it helps like just build the conditioning aspect.
Oh, dude, it's insane.
Because if you're just waiting around in between, you're treating it like the main movements for like powerlifting.
It's not good.
Yeah, you're not getting the goal is basically like hypertrophy and intensity.
You got
Depending. I
Well,
mean, you
and-
could do like strength stuff too.
And it
obviously.
definitely depends on on where you are in your prep too. If you're 10 weeks out, okay, yeah, you're gonna get a lot of volume from your main movement. But if you're like 3-4 weeks out, you're not getting a lot of volume and exhaustion from your main movement. So that's where that should focus be. But you're also lifting very heavy, so it kind of offsets that.
I know for like 3 weeks out, that's when I start really cutting accessories.
Almost completely out, yeah.
I'll basically just tell them like, yeah, do like 1 or 2 things
Yeah,
and just focus on blood flow.
exactly.
Don't
Just-
even like
yeah.
just
like-
going through a full range of motion, getting blood in there.
Yeah,
that's
it's like-
all it really is.
now it's time to drop the intensity.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, you've already been doing this for 10 weeks.
Yeah.
So I might as well keep doing it.
It's working so far. Keep on working.
I think a lot. I was talking to Tyler the other day about like, cause he's like, "What do you got to?" I was like, "Just back," and he was like, "Just back." That's like his hardest day as a aesthetic athlete, physique athlete. It's like that's like the hardest day for me. I was like, "Oh, that makes sense." And I told him it was like recently it's been a switch for me lately, just like to treat accessories more take them more seriously. You know, especially things like back and arms, like things that are just like, oh, they're just ornaments. You know, they don't matter. They're just pretty muscles. Like, well,
No, they're not.
they help a lot, dude. And so like just taking things like back seriously instead of just like throwing on a 3x10. There's always a place for a 3x10, but like just doing that all the time, thinking you're just gonna half-ass it and get through it. You know, I actually pushed it with like 6s and 8s and pushed it heavy and hard and gave it its own day. You know, like just doing that's been a big thing too.
Yeah.
So I think it was a phrase. It was like treat your compound lifts like power lifts and treat your accessories like a bodybuilder or
Yeah.
something. And just always just not just chasing the pump, but like getting an adaptation out of it, whether it is strength and hypertrophy or a mixture of both, you know. So
The accessories is what sets athletes apart usually.
Yeah.
Because you can see it.
even if you just do it from like a health standpoint, it's so much better for you than nothing, you know, or just going through the motions, you know.
Well, and I think one of the most important days, going back to what you were saying, is a back day. Like so many powerlifters. I'll just keep powerlifting in this subject. They don't treat their back day like it's a main movement. And if you really want to make progress, you really want to get stronger, like your posterior controls almost everything as far as like a strength aspect in powerlifting. Your posterior is where the majority of your strength is going to come from. And so if you've got a weak back because you don't train your back heavy, then you're not going to make progress in your other lifts. So if you do like a 5x5 on barbell rows versus like a 3x10, like you said, you're going to get so much more out of that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's why I'll give people a lot of times, like on their back day, like some sort of strength movement, compound strength movement at the start.
Yeah.
One of the things I like to give, especially if I know they have like deadlift soon, is I drop the barbell rows and just go straight to seal rows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
On any chest supporter row, even if it's just a dumbbell on an incline bench,
Standing hammer strength rows.
those are good too.
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, you stand on the unilateral
Yeah.
machine?
And,
Yeah.
because it like mimics a bench.
Ooh.
It's the
Ooh.
reverse movement of a
I
bench.
think I've tried that once, actually. That was nice.
I like doing those a lot.
I like sitting super tall.
I like to put a little booster seat.
A little booster seat.
I'm
Make
big,
you feel tall.
I'm big on the dumbbell, one-arm dumbbell rows.
Yeah.
Just getting a good stretch and going all the way up with those. Just feels good.
Going back to like teaching newer people
Yeah.
dumbbell rows.
Oh, brutal.
Insane.
That's
I almost don't think that should be something introduced for a while.
I don't.
For a lot of general population athletes, I've always used machines at first.
Yeah.
I
Because
try
it keeps
not
the,
to.
Well, the thing I understand like the whole like stability thing, but like I'm not saying this is like 2 years of development. This is like the first few weeks I'm working with them. It sets them in a place where they can use only that muscle. You know, push them hard so they know what that muscle feels like and they learn how to like contract it. Because like some people don't even know how to like flex their tricep. You know,
Yeah.
like so it's like get them on a tricep machine. Really teach them how to like lengthen and stretch and contract that, and maybe even push them a little bit to failure because like you'll definitely feel the muscle when it's failing on you, and that way they're like, oh well, this is what it feels like, and then it builds a little bit more coordination. And then after we get done with that, it goes into more like we can get into compounds because when I ask you to squeeze your back, most newer lifters don't know what that means.
Yeah.
I'm like, pack your lats. Where's my scapula? You know, like what does that even mean?
I don't like jumping straight to machines though. I always do like some sort of free weight first. It doesn't really matter like how new,
Yeah.
unless there's obviously like specified like injuries or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I need to see
What to work
Some
with.
weaknesses.
No, yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
what the-
diagnosis. Yeah.
yeah what the weaknesses are, what works, what doesn't. Because sometimes people will just surprise you.
And
I've
then
seen-
they pull a perfect deadlift for the first time.
Yeah,
and
I've
they're
I've
like,
had
"Oh,
people
okay."
like I'll be like have you ever tried sumo? And then like, no, I don't even know what that is. And I show them and I'm like, well, it was perfect. I don't know what to do now.
Yeah, you're like, okay, solid. Move on to the next.
Yeah.
what was your guy that was deadlifting the other day? It's like, I need an extra set of eyes. And then he ends up, we all
Brian?
come over there and watch, and he ends up pulling the most perfect conventional deadlift.
That was
ever.
Brian.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
that
was
was
like, dude,
great.
I was like, dude, there's nothing wrong. He's like, yeah, because he did it right this time.
You had like 9 people watching him.
Yeah, right.
Just pressure.
The whole time it was like he was just dropping his hips too low.
Mhm.
He just couldn't pull it together. And then like, yeah, like 9 people watching him, and all of a sudden he just
Perfect.
it's perfect.
Yeah.
He just needs that pressure.
A lot of people do. A lot of people do better under pressure than they think. They think like, I don't like when people are watching me. It's like some people strive off of that. You
Yeah.
know.
I think I do. Like I don't vocalize it, but I think a little bit of pressure makes a difference.
It's always nice having like the spotters hyping you, and just when you see people in your peripheral watching you about to go lift or something, and
You're like,
it's
hell
you're
yeah.
like, this is it. I cannot fail.
Yeah. If I fail in front of these
If
people,
I fail, I'm moving back to Texas.
Yeah, that feeling of failing in front of other people,
brutal.
because everyone's looking at you, and all you can think is like, I look like they think that you're an idiot.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, he's ego lifting. I'm like, no, I'm not.
No, I'm not.
I
actually-
promise.
I actually can't lift this. I swear.
I've done it maybe.
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. With some bands at some point. I don't-
I've done a variation.
yeah. Yeah.
I may have not squat in the depth, but we count it.
But we count it. It was in the gym. It counts.
Exactly.
So like, let's say that you get a newer lifter, general population. Let's say they used to be like high school collegiate athlete. You know, not like highest level, but like decent level. Took a couple of years off. They come back, and they kind of have a hard shell to break in terms of trying to teach them new things.
I've had that before.
What
too.
is some things y'all look at? Like some things that help y'all, just kind of not like proving them wrong, but like showing that like I know what I'm talking about. Please trust me. You know, like this is what's gonna work. You
A
just
lot
have
of
to trust.
times they will think that they know something,
Mhm.
and then they'll try to argue with you. So what I'll do is just let them get their way, because usually when they get their way, something doesn't quite work out for them.
Yeah.
Whether it's like a failed rep or it just didn't feel right. Obviously, it's not.
Trial by fire.
It'll never be like, oh, like 300-pound bench. Like, no, it'll be like a 155-pound bench that they want to try, and it's like obviously like, no, the way you're doing it's not going to work that way.
Yeah.
And so that's one way. I don't like resorting to that unless it's been consistent. But otherwise, like breaking the habits, most people are pretty good.
That's what
Like
I
as
thought.
long as you just keep reinforcing the idea.
I like to implement like tempo and pause work. Staying in the tension and getting in the right position.
position. Yeah.
That's
So if-
that's like specify low. Like that's basically like if they're like slamming weights or something.
I mean, on anything, any movement they do, you can call it a lateral raise, you can call it a tricep push down, a lat pull down, like anything. I'll make them pause in the bottom, control it on the way up, make sure that they're actually. If you're doing a lat pull down and you feel your biceps and your forearms more than your lats, like, okay, it's time to change something. It's
I
time
get
to
what you're
change
saying.
where
Okay,
you're-
because
yeah.
I just feel like that's normal. Like you're supposed to just tell everybody to do that.
Yeah.
And so like okay,
Some
no.
people just don't.
Oh, you're
like,
telling like people that just try to bust out sets.
Yeah.
Like
So
nothing-
I'm used to just telling people no matter what,
Tempo.
like tempo.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I see what you're saying. Like, I guess that isn't like a normal thing to do.
No, it's just we come from a place where the standard here is so high and the expectation is so high for how strong and how like proper technique from like almost lifters across the board here. I feel like the standard's just different. So something that's regular here is not going to be regular somewhere else.
That makes sense.
Something that all of us coaches do here, some coaches might not even like ever touch on.
That's usually part of like the first month thing I was talking about earlier, where it's like we're just working on form, and so it's basically just all tempos and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and making sure they're not slamming weights around.
Yeah.
Because the second they're like moving way too fast, all motor skills go out the window.
Man, it's funny. His name's Masa.
Mm-hmm.
He was telling me earlier this week. He was like, "Yeah, I've really dialed in my like squat. I'm starting to try and like really rebound and bounce out of the hole." And so I watched one of his sets, and he was like completely relaxed into the hole and bounced out. And he goes, "You see how fast it was?" Blah blah. And I was like, "Yeah, sure, but when you get to like 99%, 100%,
yeah.
that's not going to move." And so I was trying to tell him like the idea for me behind just trying to keep tension the whole time and then just change directions. And I think he took it well, but I was able to explain to him, and I think he took it well, that you can't relax into a position. Sure, it works when you're lifting submaximal weights. Sure, it works when you're not even near your genetic potential for strength. But when you're pushing the limits, like some of these top 1% athletes, when you're actually like pushing weight that can hurt you, that can crush you, like you have to be more technical. You have to keep more tension.
Was he fully relaxing?
Um,
Because like he said something similar to me, but the way I saw it, it wasn't like a full relax.
the one that I saw, he like his upper back, his brace, and his hips gone, just boom. Like you even saw like his shoulders drop.
Oh, that's a common one,
Into it.
is the shoulders dropping.
And I'm like, man, if you just keep that squeezed. I mean, I have a hard time with it, but like,
The thing is, then you look at his bench, and it's like super technical.
yeah.
doesn't
His
free
deadlift
fall
is
that.
technical too.
Yeah,
Deadlift is pretty
he's
good.
he's worked a lot. Actually all three.
Yeah.
But I think squat in particular, people try to skirt the system.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, dude,
Everybody
it's
tries
definitely
to
a fast
rebound.
track. It's a fast track for squats for sure, man.
Well, nobody wants to do the hard thing, man. Squats are hard. So are deadlifts, but squats are hard.
Squats are the hardest.
I think
Squats are a little bit harder just because, let's say you have to walk it out. It's already on your back for like 5 to 10 seconds already. That's hard to breathe. Imagine not walking out a squat. It's
it's
insane.
great.
That's crazy.
Oh, it's so
Like,
great.
dude.
Oh man.
I think y'all should squat more then. Just playing.
Ouch.
What was I saying? Forgot.
walking out of squat.
Walking out a squat. Well, yeah, like that's the thing. That's what makes it a little bit harder than dead. Like deadlifts, it's hard. It's super hard, especially on the system and
But you
stuff.
can
But
let go.
it starts on the ground. Though.
Deadlift is hard because you can't load into a position. Squat
Exactly.
and bench is the only movements where you actually load into
There's
it,
an eccentric, and that helps a whole
Well,
lot. with the-
technically, you can load into a position.
but not quite the same. Like you're not loading with 100% of the weight like you are with a squat. and
Okay, I see what
bench,
you're saying.
You know, it's
You're loading with tension,
yeah,
like whatever.
whatever
not coming.
tension you can build
Yeah.
before you almost lose it and then pull. I
Exactly.
guess.
That's another thing I see with newer lifters is just zero tension,
Yeah.
especially on deadlifts. Just ripping the bar off the floor.
Mm-hmm.
That one's hard. That one's hard to teach actually, but once it clicks pretty well.
Yeah.
I don't know what techniques you use. I just tell people to fall back.
I
I try to tell people not to pull. That's like the biggest thing is like I'm telling people like when they're deadlifting just build tension and I'm like don't pick it up. Please just don't pick it up. They always pick it up and I'm like put it down.
put it down. Just build
Don't
tension.
pick it up. Or you're just going to build tension.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's like my strategy is just like telling them to sit back, pull their lats tight
I'll tell them for one, I'll try and use the deadlift bar just so they can feel it more.
More the slack.
And then the other one I'll say is 80% speed.
Interesting.
80% speed, because if they're thinking 100% speed, they're just going to go. But if they mentally force themselves like, okay, I'm not supposed to move this as fast as I can, most of the time it will look 1,000 times better.
I feel like a lot of people don't go 100% speed though. When it comes to deadlift.
But it's more of a mind thing too. They might they probably aren't, but in their mind they're thinking, I got to pull this and just get it up. Versus if they're
makes
like,
sense.
okay, if I control it and control what my body's doing, oh, there's that aspect.
What's interesting is like down the line, as people get better, you start telling them the opposite. You tell them to be like, pick it up with more intent.
Yeah. Just like with Tony earlier today. You're
Yeah.
not aggressive enough. You got to come up to that bar before you even step on that
You're
platform.
breaking the habit you made for them.
Yeah. You're in a different section now. We've got to control this section. We already did this. Now let's add some.
It's the
some aggression.
prerequisite.
Yeah.
I know for some people, the starting position was like, I would tell a lot of people do pauses, but like not off the ground, just starting position pauses. And you can just tell when they're just sitting there for half a second and the bar's not moving. They're not, when you're tension, you kind of shake a little bit.
yeah.
They're just kind of sitting there. It's like, well, now we know there's no tension at all.
Yeah.
You're sitting there,
They're
you know,
just
That's
lost.
something Jeremy.
starting position.
I don't know if you
deadlifts.
remember that like 2 years ago when we were training with Jeremy. And it was like deadlift and it was just like working tension.
Yeah.
I think he had Chris and me with 315 on the bar at the end of one of our deadlift sessions, just building tension.
Yeah.
And it was like,
For an hour.
yes, it was like a straight
was-
hour of just like build tension till the bar comes off the ground and then just hold it.
I think the best thing for beginner powerlifters, I guess, and maybe gen pop, but like for deadlifts, it's just more first reps,
Yeah.
10 sets of one,
Not tap
Sure.
and goes, just
not
first
touch and
reps.
goes. You know, you can do touch and goes as an accessory or volume for an accessory, but like you really want them to get good at that first rep, especially as a powerlifter. That's all you get is one rep. You know, you got to work that one rep every time.
I think one thing too is like I'll do like 2 reps a lot, but I'll tell them on the second rep when they get down to the bottom,
Sit for a
don't
second.
move.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just hold the tension
And then go.
go
because
because that's the
they'll
most
know
optimal
They'll
spot.
feel exactly what they need to feel and just strive for that
And
position every time.
People have a tendency to want to pump every single time.
Yeah.
And I don't know where pumping comes from.
I think it's just a reaction. I think it's like a brain to muscle reaction.
So like for me, whenever I let the bar go back to the ground, I kind of fully reset a little bit my body. It's because it kind of, when it gets heavier, my back just can't take the eccentric as well. And so like to kind of like control it all the way down, it's a weakness of mine, but it's kind of hard. It puts a lot of strain on my back. And so I put it down with not a lot of control. And then I kind of reset everything again, but it's not pumping. It's more of like, I just get my back tight again and put it back and we're back in line. But I can't really control the eccentric of a deadlift too well because it
Are
puts a
you
lot of
bracing
tension
at
right
the
there.
top?
Try to. Sometimes I feel like I brace too hard and it hurts too much.
Because
know?
you should 33%. You should be able to handle 33% more on the eccentric.
It's also something I never trained. That's what I'm saying. Like it's a weakness
Oh.
I have. Like if I focused on it more, I think I could be better at it.
Because I feel like I do that for a lot of newer people too.
yeah,
When it's light enough, I'm like, just focus on the eccentric.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna benefit so much more out of it.
Well, and that's the exact science behind the electric weight too.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Oh man, we should bring,
John.
when we bring Jeremy back in and John and all that, that'd be phenomenal.
We should put you on the electric weight.
I should try it.
It'd be fun. You'd have fun with it. You really would. And
Your
it
squat
would
would
do
be crazy.
it would do wonders for your bench and your squat.
Cool.
900 eccentric.
Hell yeah. Let's get back to just straight general population coming in first week. Kind of take me through your mindset. Let's say it's your first session. Let's say you've got them Monday, Wednesday, Friday this week. What are you looking at? What are you looking to do? What's your mindset kind of coming into it?
It really just depends on what their goals are, though.
Yeah.
Usually it's just building strength or something, or like losing weight.
Yeah.
And so I try to do something like, we'll do like more of a upper body day of like chest, shoulders, tris, then a back day, and then some sort of leg day.
Yeah.
And usually I try to do, like I said before, some sort of compound.
Yep.
Nothing crazy, just to kind of diagnose the issues, and then go from there. Start doing like accessory work and seeing what's weak, what's not. Like what are they like? Actually, like what are they liking too?
Yeah.
Because you can tell.
That's a big thing.
Because some people like they'll do the exercise, but they don't like doing particular exercises.
Mm-hmm.
So finding exercise that they enjoy is very important.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Um,
That's one thing I was going to bring up is trying to get somebody built into a routine of coming. If they're showing up here and they're not enjoying what they're doing, they're not going to want to come back. If you can find, like you said, movements and exercises that they like doing, they enjoy doing, makes them feel good, and it's good for them, like keep doing that.
It'll carry over so much
It'll
more.
carry over.
I
so
also
much
think
more.
not just like the physical aspect, but just reinforcing confidence
Yeah,
is like one of the biggest things.
Yeah.
I think the mental aspect is almost more important.
absolutely.
Because you want to like reinforce all those like confidence aspects, because you don't want them coming in and just thinking that they don't belong or
Yeah.
anything of the
I'm
sort.
just gonna get dogged on by coach today. Yeah,
Yeah,
I get
I've
that.
never understood coaches that like talk shit.
Dude, you get those. There's
Like-
coaches.
Yeah, I feel like there's clients that handle it well, more sport, but like general fitness. Oh,
No,
I'd
general
never be
fitness.
able to.
Why would you do that?
No.
There's a lot of personal trainers that are like around like the nation. They like punish clients. Like, oh, you're 10 minutes late. We're doing burpees today. You know, like,
No
it's like this
way.
ain't a team sport, brother. Like we are, we are.
You're doing burpees.
You're doing burpees. Like, come on, dude.
Well,
Like,
now they're not going to even show up.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They built at such a terrible relationship. That person might never step into a gym or hire a trainer ever again. you know?
Absolutely.
I've heard a lot of horror. You've heard it before, right? You've gotten clients that have told you like horror stories about like
Oh, other gyms around here.
Yeah.
Other gyms across the nation.
Yeah,
like,
and
their
just
trainers.
some of the trainers, and they would tell me like what they were doing, and I'm like, this doesn't even make
But,
sense.
but they're certified, brother.
No, that's what's crazy. Luckily, I don't know her name, so
That's okay.
I don't know I don't know what, but so where Sasha came from was a trainer that she trained in this girl's garage. She had like a full gym. And some of the stuff that she told me that she would have them do as workouts and just stuff like that, I'm like, apparently this lady's been training for 20 plus years. How? Like, I couldn't give you an exact example, but just the structure of like the workouts and what she would have her do, and then like the form reassurance behind it, everything is just so off. It's like, how can somebody with that many years of experience, with that knowledge and training that many people, not really know what they're talking about, not really understand like the fundamentals of just fitness in general, strength training, whatever it may be.
Usually with those situations, it's somebody that got lucky with a couple token monsters,
Yeah.
and they think that worked for them, it worked for everyone else, you know. So that's usually the issue with that. It's like, well, this guy became a world-class athlete with this. Like, yeah, but you can't use that as an example for
No.
everyone else, you know.
And she would tell me she'd like question or like ask her questions, not question what she's doing,
Yeah.
but ask questions as a client should. And she'd get the same answer every time. If you don't, if
Just the ego answer.
Yeah,
just like,
yeah,
if you don't
like,
like what
if
I'm
you don't-
doing, get out here.
exactly, it was my way or the highway, and there
Yeah.
was nothing about
That's
it.
such a weird thought process.
Oh, it makes it seem like you know everything, and
Well,
nobody does
and to me, it makes it sound like you don't know anything.
anything. Yeah.
Because if you're not willing to adapt and change,
Yeah.
you don't. It just sounds like you don't know what to do.
Well, look at statistics and facts that were shown 15 years ago about the fitness world, and then look at similar ones today. How many things have completely reversed from what like
Oh yeah, like
the health-
going from like 90-degree squats, just knees over toes, back, like just things going back and forth like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
oh,
like things always are changing. You know,
Yeah.
like we couldn't eat eggs 30 years ago.
That's the big one I always think about. It's like eggs are bad. Eggs
Eggs
are
are
good.
bad.
Eggs are
Exactly.
bad.
and it's things are constantly changing, so you can't possibly know everything. So you can't be that close-minded. You can't be that dull where you're just like, no, it's my way or the highway. No wonder you don't have people that stick around. No wonder you don't have people making progress.
Yeah,
You're not giving them the tools. You're not giving them Like,
Gotta give them the enjoyment too.
Yeah.
Like the fun aspect. You gotta remind them that training is working out is fun. It's not. It is very stressful, but like, I think a lot of people get stuck on the I'm mentally tired after work and stuff, and like my body's tired. It's like, well, you don't have to go 100% today. Just get your butt in there,
yeah,
20 to 40 minutes.
do something.
Did something in,
Yeah.
better than nothing. But it's like, got to build that relationship first though, because like a lot of people think it's an all or nothing thing. That's what scares them from the gym.
Yeah,
They think they're gonna have to come in and get sore and throw
Well, there's
up.
the,
It's
the,
like,
the stigma behind like the boot camp instructor
Yeah.
coach
Oh, man.
that's yelling at you, and then you have to do this, you have to do that, which that doesn't make sense.
It's crazy because those style classes are so popular and they're so expensive. And you can see, in general, the people that go in and out of there are like healthy, like healthier than your average American. But like, okay, take a look at them 6 months from now. Have they changed?
usually stagnant. Yeah.
Have they?
And those classes usually stay the same.
Yeah.
They
Oh,
don't. That's the hard part with like group training. Is like it's hard to make progression. Like there's like the whiteboard models and stuff. Like let's say American Iron had a whiteboard model, and there was no day 1 to day 100. It was just you did whatever day was on that day.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it's my first day in the gym. I'm just gonna do this, and it's day 73, and you're like, well, I can't do that. It's like, well, that's what you get. You don't get day 1.
No.
So that's the issue with a lot of those other gyms. Like
I-
you might be coming in on their peak phase,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's your first day training in
Oh.
3 years. Yeah.
Shit.
I briefly worked at another gym for a little bit. I'm not gonna say the name. Just causes too much issues, and they went on the whiteboard model.
Yeah.
Um,
The whiteboard's good if you have different
it's
phases. But
terrible. I stopped.
God, I
u-
want to know so bad.
I stopped. I stopped using it. I just ignored it. If I was the only one there,
Yeah.
I was like, "We're not doing this."
no,
I
that's
was like,
the thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you've also worked in affiliates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Disaster.
As soon as you said what you said, I was like, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
God, that's awful.
The thing with the whiteboard, if you're gonna do it at a gym, you gotta have like 3 whiteboards: beginner, intermediate, advanced. And like the issue with that is everybody thinks they're intermediate or advanced. Nobody wants to do the beginner workout.
No, you're a beginner. Get your ass over there,
Brother,
You're a
I saw
beginner.
you sweating on the way to the gym from the parking lot. I don't need you to tell me you're intermediate.
I think people. It's almost better just to tell someone they're intermediate, just because everyone thinks that it's based on like a timeline thing
Yeah.
rather than a skill level
If
thing.
they think, oh, I've been training for 15 years, like, brother, not the right way.
Yeah, I've been powerlifting for 13 years. I'm still a beginner.
Dude,
I always feel like a beginner.
there's kids starting powerlifting at 16 years old winning world championships.
Yeah, that.
They are technically more advanced than me and you will ever be combined.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. There's like 15-year-olds that are 10 times stronger than us.
Elliot Sykes, man. It's 155 pounds.
I think he out-totaled the junior 74s too.
8.
766.
17 years old.
16, 17, yeah, sub-junior.
17 years old. 155 pounds. I just competed worlds this week.
766 kg total.
660 pull, 650 squat, and a 385 bench.
Which one does he look like again?
Short hair with glasses. Blonde.
Blonde. It's like it's almost like bleached, almost.
Oh, I know. I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Strong.
It's absurd. Like these kids are just that strong. And
Like
it's
that,
like
that's like I don't care
that's
about
an
training. I
advanced
don't care
lifter.
how long he's been training, whether it's been 3 months or 3 years. Like that's an advanced lifter. That's an advanced athlete. Like that. I could not label myself. He's stronger than me. I think he out-totaled me by 1 key.
Oh, brutal.
But then
Insane.
what's interesting about that is like I'm sure there's a different knowledge base between us and him.
100%. We could probably give him something that he could take, but it's also he's just an athlete.
Yeah.
Like
That's a big thing is like who talked about it? Was it Stan Efferdine? Talked about Westside.
Just the best athletes aren't always the best coaches or something, or what?
No, they talked about like it didn't matter what program they actually were on.
they just made progress.
It was just because they were athletes.
Yeah.
They were so willing to put in work regardless,
That's just trust and buy-in. Yeah.
and they also knew how to like self-regulate and do all this stuff. That's a big thing athletes need to learn.
Yeah.
I actually try to teach that to newer lifters. Is like the idea of self-regulation.
Yeah.
Because I think it's very important that because I'll have people that either they're not working too hard, or they're coming in and they're just doing way too much.
Yeah.
They'll tell me what they're doing throughout the week, and they're telling me they're tired, they're exhausted. I'm like, you need to back it off.
Yeah.
It's not, you don't have to kill yourself every day because you're not recovering.
Yeah. And then you can't put anything into your movements that matter.
I was about to say, you got to remind them of that. Like, you want to be better squat, bench, and deadlift. This is what it's going to take. And
Yeah.
it's just a pill they're going to have to swallow one day. But it's hard. It's hard to break that habit, especially the kids that try too hard.
Yeah.
Which one do you think's harder to break? The kids that try too hard, or the kids that don't know how to try at all?
Kids that try too hard.
Yeah, that's what. Because like you can't. That's like such a barrier
Harder to break? Oh, man.
in terms of like habits and stuff. you know?
Yeah. Probably.
Because the kids that don't try as hard, you can just psychologically just be like, go, go, go.
Yeah.
Hips.
You can trick them. You can trick them. You can add weight if they don't know it. You can do kilos. if
Yeah,
they don't
exactly.
know it. You can-
That's
you
a
can trick
classic
them.
move. The classic move is just walk. I've snuck on plates.
Oh, me too, man. I do it to my mom all the time. Just sneak a little 2.5 on.
Yeah. I think I did that to MJ recently.
Oh yeah.
Mixing up the pounds and kilos, so
Dude, she
not even
benched-
you know what that is.
She benched 200 on Monday.
That's
Nice.
insane.
Oh my god.
Isn't her best like 160 before that or something like that?
My mom? I'm sorry.
Who are we
Yes,
talking about?
My mom.
Okay,
Yeah,
Mom.
she benched 200. She benched 192 in her last meet, which is the
Nice.
national record. And then she doubled that last week and then hit a 200 single this week.
Nice.
Absolutely nuts.
It just doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. She works.
God bless you.
Hey, shut up, dude.
Man, that actually didn't come through super aggressive. Thank you. I thought you were
I'll
gonna
keep it on
sneeze
next time.
directly
I'll
into
keep
this.
it on. We'll test some trials.
Just like break the sound.
I think my,
It just
I think
fizzles
my
out.
ears would be wet.
Right? You're like, ugh.
Shit, what were we talking about?
The kids are. It's harder to break their bad habits. The kids are try too hard, and the kids that don't really know how to give 100 effort yet.
Because the kids that try too hard, we say kids, but I mean it's just
Anybody,
general
sorry,
people in
yeah, I
general.
don't mean to say kids, but just
Um,
clients that know how to try really hard, too
It's-
hard almost.
It's because part of them, they have a chip on their shoulder, and they have the idea that more is better.
That's Ollie.
You think so?
He's got a chip on his shoulder because he thinks he sucks. And I tell him he sucks. And then he just works harder.
You know,
But do you want him to work harder or work
Yes.
less? Okay. There's a,
Well, yeah, so even if I wanted him to work less, then I tell him, like, hey, like, back it off. You still suck, but back it off. but he's, like, the only one that I could really say that to, and he'll get better. If I said that to Tony, like, actually, no, Tony's good with that, too. But if I said that to, like, Mason, like, we've tried that. It didn't work. We've tried motivating him with, like, the negative talk. And
I think a lot of times it doesn't work.
nothing worked for him. You know what finally clicked? He watched, I think, age group nationals, and he sent me and Trevor a text message while it was going on, and he goes, "Wow, I'm not shit."
You know, I was hoping that Marcus thing was gonna
Didn't do anything.
because I'm like,
It
that kid blew you out of the water.
Yeah, it didn't do anything. It took him watching all of the athletes that he would have competed against beat him, and then he goes, "Wow, I'm not shit." Me and Trevor go, "Yeah, we've been trying to tell you to work harder. We've been trying to tell you to just, I don't know, put in more effort, more aggression, more whatever it is."
That brings me to like another thing, and this is with like every client, whether it's a general pop or not. How do you guys deal with people with like I don't know how to say it without sounding terrible, like unrealistic expectations?
Anytime I hear something that might be slightly unrealistic, it's weird. I actually don't have a mindset of something being unrealistic.
So 90% of the time, they know it's unrealistic, and they just need something to push them a little bit harder externally. And to the 10% that think it's real, for me, from the Midland powerlifters in college, I just had to level with them and just be like, listen, what you're asking is insane. You barely squatted 550 at your last meeting. You want 7. Like, come on. Like,
I'm talking about stuff like that, like the idea that like you know,
I think
in
most
3 months I'm gonna put 200 pounds on my squat.
most of those guys are realistic and know that that's not really possible.
Yeah.
That's like I said, but like when you find somebody that's a little bit delusional like that, you gotta just level with them. It's just like, listen, dude, this is not how progress. You gotta kind of break down the education behind it.
Because most of the time, if they give me something that's like, even if it's like out of the realm of like normal territory, I always say like, yeah, it's possible. It's like you just got to put in the work.
That's what I was gonna say. Is I feel like because strength training and powerlifting is so mental, I don't think I've ever told somebody that they can't do something. Now, let's say 6 months ago,
I don't
they
think you should
competed-
ever say that they can't do something, but you got to word it a certain way.
Yeah. If they squatted 550 6 months ago and they compete next week and they're wanting to squat 7 or like whatever the scenario is, 550 to 700, I could never look at them and be like, no, man, that's not possible. I'll be like, no, let's see what happens. Let's try and get there.
You gotta play it like you gotta see what your effort gets you.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like,
Because imagine he puts 100 pounds on a squat in that amount of time.
great. Yeah,
Holy
650 is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would take 650 all day. That's 50 pounds less than 7.
And then you
Yeah.
tell him like, hey, look, you made some good progress, but as you can see, like
Learning
look at where you are. This is the learning point. You didn't try hard enough.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
that's the thing. You didn't see if you tried harder.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's where the
If you ate your-
slowdown starts to come
You
in.
ate your veggies.
And, you know, there's a lot of lifters like Gen Pop or otherwise. You make massive progress at the beginning
Yeah.
and then it starts slowing down. And that's when
So that's
the
why
mental really starts kicking
that's
in.
when I always say you're not a powerlifter till you hit your first plateau
Oh,
and actually break through it. Like if anybody can quit after their first plateau.
yeah.
And I mean like a real plateau.
Yeah.
Not like 2
Not like
months.
2
I like-
months and you're just
I'm
like,
talking
stuck.
like
a
you,
year.
Yeah,
and a half.
you've been stuck for a
You're
year.
fighting for chips on your bench press and it's just not budging.
Yeah.
And it might have gone down 5 pounds. Like,
Or
Yeah.
30.
or 30. Like the times where just nothing is working and you just push through it. And now, all right, now you're a powerlifter. You figured it out. This is the game.
And that's the thing with people though too, is like when they stop seeing the progress and they want to switch trainers, I don't think they truly understand what that entails.
No.
Because you've been working with them for however long and you know what they might need. Switching might just regress you more.
It's funny. If you were to take Jeremy, myself, and you and have a client start with Jeremy and go basically that route where they're like, oh, I'm going to look for another trainer, they're going to get almost the same exact training across the board.
That is true.
Because not that it's like we're just structured like a whiteboard.
Oh, yeah, but
gym.
y'all have the same background.
We have the same background and we have the same style of beliefs as, mechanically speaking, this is how a movement should look.
And we're
And we're going
always
We're going to teach it to our absolute most perfection. So it's kind of funny in that aspect. But if we were to lose a client and they go somewhere else, they're going to teach them something completely different.
Mhm.
And that's crazy to me. And then they'll get, gratification for, oh, I thought I was doing this, or oh, I thought, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just funny. If it was here, no, we're gonna teach it the same because this is how it's supposed to be done.
I think what helps here too is we're all willing to like bounce ideas off of each other
Oh yeah,
constantly.
I can't tell you.
It was crazy coming here after like moving from Texas and getting out of college. Like we all squat, bench, and deadlift pretty similar wise, and stuff like that. So when I got here and stick bench press, for example, I tuck my legs more. I have a narrow grip, high arch. A lot of y'all are pretty vertical shin, maybe a little bit farther out. Stuff like that. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this is a whole different thing here.
Yeah.
So it's just like it's kind of cool seeing different like culture phases and things like that.
I think we
just
changed
different-
all 3 of your lifts.
Different beliefs too.
I benched about the same still, I think.
You moved your feet a little bit.
Did I? And squat, I just learned to lean back, sit back a little bit more.
Use your posterior more. And then
De-
deads are just looking really good. You're just building tension better
Yeah.
and like bracing harder.
It's also nice not moving furniture anymore.
Oh man, that's got to be such a big difference.
That was terrible. Did I tell you about my last meet? I did like for the last 6 weeks leading into a meet. I did one training session a week. It was max out SBD every week. Every
and
Wednesday.
then work.
Because my day off was Wednesday, Thursday. So I just hit hard on Wednesday, rested Thursday, went back into work,
Oh man,
and then hit a deadlift PR. That was fun.
that's crazy.
It's insane.
That's crazy.
I mean,
That's just managing fatigue at that point.
That's a viable strategy right there.
that what was that? Mike? It wasn't Mike Mentzer. It was somebody else. Like it was a truck driver.
Yeah, the truck driver, he would do it once a week.
Once a week, maybe twice a week with accessories.
And he was like a
He's a world class.
yeah, world class. I don't remember his name.
It's like the '80s, yeah.
but he would do squat bench dead. That's it, once a week.
Man.
And then the rest of the days he sat on his ass
What's a world class total in the 80s?
like
Still,
1100.
I was gonna say 1200.
Dude,
Oh, yeah.
I can remember like what, like even like 8 years ago, an 1800 total for like a 308 plus
Massive.
was massive.
Yeah.
And now you have 155 pound guys.
Now it's literally like if you are over 280 pounds or over 300 pounds and you don't total 2,000, there's something wrong.
it's crazy. Strengthflation's real, brother.
It is crazy.
I mean, not really, but like, if
No,
you've got a 16-year-old powerlifter, 17-year-old powerlifter that's 150 pounds and he's outlifting you, and like, let's say you have extracurriculars on your side and you're still not totaling anything above that, like, there's obviously something very wrong.
Can you remember when like 500 was the new 400, 600 was the new 500,
Oh my god.
700 was the new 600?
See, it seemed like the gap between
Post
500
COVID.
to 600 was like 10 years. Then the gap from 600 to 700 felt like 2 years.
It was. I think it was like
So
it was only like 2 years.
Yeah.
the rise from like numbers, man. That started like I remember when like raw powerlifting really like. I think there's a trend page too. It shows like when it was like peaked and when it all started rising. It was 2017, 2016ish. Raw Nationals, USAPL, and like
It
those
does make
guys
sense.
were monsters.
There was
and everything.
that
But,
was like the initial resurgence of
yeah. Because
powerlifting.
Raw was already a thing before then, but that picked it up. Tamara
Yeah.
has a theory about CrossFit and all that, but like skipping all that, it really shot up, and then obviously gene pool and everything just got stronger. And then you got guys like Perkins doing near 850 totals.
Yeah.
It makes you feel bad as a guy that weighs 230. You're like, how is he out totaling? Like this shouldn't be possible. Then you forget there's like freaks, monsters. You
Or
know?
like, why can't you be a freak or a monster?
Exactly.
You know? I feel like we all are.
I mean, we all are.
You just gotta break the monster out, you know?
just howl at the moon.
It's not phase, mom.
You just gotta
We're really bringing this into the podcast.
Yeah, that reminds me. I made something earlier.
Oh no.
Insane.
It's I'll show you guys.
The one of the like with me in the truck. So funny.
No one has any idea what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
it's great. Just put it up there.
I could, yeah. Sneak that one
It's the header for the newsletter. Beware.
in. Beware
Dude,
wolf.
Beware.
that'd be a great October newsletter.
Dude, I got.
That's a good idea.
I have-
You can
actually.
take advantage of so many October.
Dude, that's a
things.
good idea.
Write that down.
You have
You
the
have the
notepad.
I have not kept.
Is that a picture of a mouse?
This is
It's just
This
he's
is,
actually
this is
dueling.
actually gonna remember.
He's
It's the
dueling
easiest way to
werewolves.
remember.
Yeah, it's not a mouse, it's a werewolf.
Rar.
just the note.
Rawr. Oh man.
That's kind of. Where the fuck were we talking about?
I was gonna get back to general fitness. I feel like it's just tricky. General fitness is, in my opinion, been more difficult than bodybuilding, powerlifting, or strongman athletes that I've coached.
You think so?
I think so, just because I have to be so careful.
Okay,
Um,
that makes sense.
I like.
You-
Okay, week 1 and 2. If I overtrain them and they're like overly sore, oh man, good luck seeing them.
I think the issue with Gen Pop is you don't get to use most of your knowledge, and it's really easy to want to just keep spouting information and using all these ideas.
When most of it can't even be received because they don't
Well,
even know
How
to engage their
how
lats.
important is it to teach habits, not in terms of like technical lingo and stuff like that, but like communication, expressing how you feel, like things like that. Like, because I feel like there's a lot of times where like there can be a miscommunication between clients, and they're like, "Well, I didn't feel like this, and that." It's like, you can tell me,
Yeah.
you can talk to me about this. Like how much of
I
that.
try to reinforce that a lot.
I was going to say that's huge. I didn't really realize I do that, but almost every set that a client does, I'll
How's that
ask them,
feel?
How did
How's
that
it feel?
feel? Where did you feel it? What do you think?
It's like almost instinct.
Yeah.
It's like, how'd that feel?
That was.
I hate when
I
they're
have
like,
like a-
I don't know.
I have like a vivid memory of like Jeremy interviewing me for this job,
Yeah,
and I told you the story, right?
I think so.
And he pulled me in the back and made me train one of his clients.
No way.
Yeah, and just watched me, and I was like, dude, I don't know what to do. Like he's doing bench, and then he was like, I'm not gonna be like, he didn't get involved at all. And,
Wow, that's awesome.
and so like I was just like, did bench, all that stuff. He was like quizzing me on like body parts and stuff, and like occasionally I was wrong, and then he would correct me, and it was like actually very eye opening.
Yeah. Oh
But
yeah.
he brought up one thing, and it was like, and it just came super natural to me, was just asking, how'd that feel? And I was like, that was like, and he even brought it up. He was like, I'm really glad you said that.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, that just seems like something you should ask to get a gauge of like
Feels
how.
natural,
Feedback.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You need feedback in order to try and figure out what they're feeling, if they're feeling something incorrectly. Because a deadlift can look good, but if
Yeah.
they're like, man, I still feel it in my back. Okay. Now we can take a look at, are you engaging your lats? Are you bracing properly? Are
That
you
happens a
actually
lot,
using your
too.
glutes.
You can see, I've done that where that lift looks really good, and they're like, I still feel it here, and it's
Yeah.
like, well, okay,
It's like
let's.
I think with a lot of newer lifters, you got to teach them what it is. Like, you want to give a novice lifter RP, but they don't really know what an RP 10 is. You got to teach them, like, near failure. You got
That's
to
like
teach them maximal effort. You know,
Part
like,
of like the self-regulation
Yeah.
aspect.
that's the thing. It's like you got to teach them that first. That's because, like, I made the mistake as a newer trainer. It was just like, how'd that feel? I don't know. Well, of course we don't know. You never pushed that hard. We don't really have that much experience under our belts together yet for you
Yeah.
to know exactly what that feels like.
Oh, yeah.
So you gotta kind of build that knowledge up first, that database of just like, how'd that feel? You know, how are we feeling today? You see them struggle. They know how that feels. They'll never forget that. You know, you never forget your hardest set of squats. You know,
Yeah.
and so it's just
Oh,
like
man.
that's the 10. You know,
And that's when you're like looking for like the small cues that they give.
yeah.
The small break.
That's why I liked when you said like starting off, you do free weights. You kind of diagnose like what it look when things start breaking down and
Yeah.
stuff. That's smart. So
Because I feel like you need to like see that.
yeah,
It's very quick to tell, too. You put them on a deadlift or a squat, you can almost immediately tell 5 weaknesses right off the bat.
Usually people share the same ones.
Yeah. It's very common. Everybody's
Quad dominant,
quad dominant.
front delt
They-
dominant.
either they can't go down all the way, they're too stiff, or like they go down too far and everything collapses in. It's
Yeah.
just like, all right, so we got some work to do. You know,
Well, and I think the collapsing in has a lot to do with them just not even knowing how to like use their posterior.
they don't even know. Yeah,
You know what's the other one I see a lot for squat? Staying too upright.
yeah.
And then it immediately goes to their lower back.
Yep.
And that one is hard to teach. Like, hey, you can
You
lean
can-
forward.
Yeah. You can. Yeah.
And they're like, but I'm going to fall forward.
That's
I'm like,
such a mental barrier for some people.
It's
It's
brutal.
insane, especially if you're trying to teach a low bar. They're like, I'm leaning forward. Though, it's like you're going to.
Yeah.
It's bound to happen.
Yeah.
you need the bar path straight.
You need to
Yeah.
hinge. You need to hinge at the waist, and then they're like, a little bit. No.
And then
No.
they immediately just have this tendency
Arch.
to want to just bring their chest up.
Yeah.
And then you immediately just feel it in your back.
It's like, oh, I felt it in my back. No shit.
That's the same thing that happens with deadlift though too.
Mm-hmm.
People will drop their hips too low and immediately arch their back.
Yeah.
One thing I use is I ask people, because some people do have like a small athletic background, and I'll say something like, have you ever done a backflip, or do you know the concept of doing a backflip, or just jumping back? And if people say yes, you know, or if they say no, I'll explain it. But if they say yes, I'll ask them, when you do a backflip, do you drop your hips all the way down? And
That'd be silly.
yeah, and you can't.
Yeah.
You
No.
literally can't.
Yeah.
Or like I'll ask them if they don't know how to do a backflip, we'll just be like, all right, how about you just hop back, just do a jump back, and then they'll do it and they'll never like drop their hips.
Yeah.
They'll keep their hips in a normal spot, and I'm like, now try to do it with your hips all the way down.
I like that. I've never seen that before. I like that. That's brilliant.
Because it's very similar to how the deadlift moves,
Yeah.
and so it just helps them reinforce that idea of keeping the hips higher.
I'm gonna learn how to do a backflip and then do a full squat backflip just to prove you wrong.
A full squat backflip.
Just like squat down, super upright, and then
No spotter.
Yeah,
That's
but you're gonna raise your hips regardless.
Hell no.
no.
He's gonna not leave the ground. That position.
So you're gonna jump back.
I might even jump forward.
A gainer?
Yes.
Don't even know what that is, but yes.
Yes. Yeah, whatever that is.
Whatever that is.
Because you can
Blake can do it.
You can jump straight up,
Yeah.
Straight up.
but to do the back.
But even then, like, when you see the athletes in the combine doing, like, the high jump and stuff, like, they're not dropping their hips. It's
yeah, they're
arms
getting
down,
that
hinge.
initial power.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, it was so funny, like doing like vertical jump testing with like the college kids, because like the college season, like get as low as you can and use that reflex. And I was like, that's completely not how that works.
No.
Because like they would like not only get super low on their squats, the squat motion, but they would also like hinge too far and drop their shoulders to the ground, and then just try to all of a sudden get stiff and bring it all the way up. And it's like, wow, I wonder why you can't jump so high. Now, don't do that. Be a little bit stiffer on like the hinge and everything, and go up, and it fixes everything. You know, what fixes that a lot is like, at least in the collegiate setting, was a lot of like sprints and stuff, because like you don't go faster like that to sprint faster. You know, you're kind of, it's a little bit of finesse. It's a little finesse. It's a little stiffness.
Yeah, you want to stay erect.
You want to stay erect.
The word flaccid got me. We're going to have to cut that one.
Nah, we're fine.
Timestamp.
The timestamp's already an hour.
Nice.
Really
Yeah.
insane.
I don't
All right, let's get into the real stuff then. I don't know.
That was pretty good. I think we got some good general fitness.
You heard that?
That's insane.
The sirens are going off. We got to go.
All right. Thanks for watching American Iron Podcast episode number 9. I'm Blake. This is Garrett. This is Brandon. And we'll see you in the next one.